Are we on air? How are we sounding?
Yeah, good.
We sound good? Sound good.
Sounds pretty good.
Hi everybody, we're back with another episode of Oh Brother, and we're so excited to be back in these seats. We have a new little setup going here for you guys.
Guys, it's so cute.
It's so cute, so fall, so autumn.
So...
Yeah, we literally went around the world today for some new furniture.
Decorations.
Like, we tried to find some chairs or, like, a cute table.
Yeah.
And we literally ended up just getting decorations and working with what we had. And I think it's cuter than anything we would have.
Yeah, we have such a cute little setup. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's not, like, crazy,
It's
but
a little
it's, like,
beginner,
cute.
but it's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
It's a
We
start.
wanted to get something out there because we've been taking so long to, like, get this going. Because I feel like we started, last week or 2 weeks ago or something?
Yeah, it was like about a week and a half
Yeah,
ago.
and then we never got anything out after
2 weeks
that.
ago.
Yeah, literally. It's been so long.
Don't
so
be
we were
mad
like,
at us.
all right, we have to just get this going. And we got these little decorations. They're so cute.
I'm sipping my
Non-existent drink,
water.
but they're so cute. Mine
One
says
day we'll
pumpkin
have-
patch.
Pumpkin spice and everything nice.
Any cuter. Oh my
Stop
god.
it.
Okay. Sorry, I just clapped on the microphone. But anyways, so we have an episode today. We're gonna get into just how to keep healthy relationships, whether that be friendships or relationships with parents or just intimate relationships. So with that being said, we wanted to start out with intimate relationships. So I guess how to keep and maintain a healthy relationship is a lot of communication and setting boundaries and all of that stuff. I will say for me, I haven't had a relationship in 7 years, so people will probably be like, why can we even take your advice?
No, you have some good advice.
I guess I have good advice, but I just always get nervous when I give people advice because I'm like,
Unsure of yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, why would anyone want to take relationship advice from someone who doesn't have experience? But I guess a lot of my tips and tricks come from watching, I guess, you. I get to watch my friends and see the mistakes that you guys make or the good things that you guys do, and I kind of not nitpick, but I'll watch you guys and I'll be like, all right, that's something that I like that they do, that's something I don't like that they do, and then I kind of make my own. I don't really know how to explain it.
You observe our relationships
Yeah.
and you learn from them.
Exactly.
I mean, that's if you're not in a relationship, it doesn't mean you're just there.
Yeah, you don't know what you're
clueless
talking
about
Yeah.
what it would be like if you were in a relationship.
Yeah.
You have your boundaries that you would want to set.
Yeah.
You have your things you're looking for.
Mhm.
You have your things you're not looking for. So
It's
that's
also
important,
easy
too.
for me too to since I'm on the outside, I'll look at their relationships and I have a clearer head because a lot of I guess problems in relationships come from you can't remove yourself from the present moment. You're kind of just oh, I love this person and I want to make things work, and you have a harder time taking yourself out of it and looking at what's best for you. You're kind of too stuck in it.
Mhm.
So I guess when I'm outside
You have
of
a
the
biased
relationship,
view.
yeah, you're biased
And you're not.
yeah, and I'm unbiased. I see both sides, and then I'll be like, oh, if that was me, how would I deal with that?
Exactly.
It just kind of takes me out of it, but
It just replaces your trial and error phase with watching us go
exactly,
through it.
I kind of don't have to do trial and error. I will, because obviously who I'm with is not going to be the same as
Yeah,
let's say your boyfriend or
course.
whatever, but I think
You don't have to be in a toxic relationship to learn toxic relationships are bad.
I know a lot of toxic relationships, and they've taught me so much about what I think I want, what I don't.
Speaking of the topic of toxicity,
Yeah.
since we're on the factor of healthy relationships, toxic relationships are hard to miss when you're in one,
Yeah.
but when you're on the outsider's point of view, you can see every little toxic thing that happens, and almost in when you think about your relationships individually, that you can probably find a tad bit of toxicity in each one of them in
Yeah.
one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
and eliminating that is what's going to give you that healthy relationship, realizing this, I shouldn't have said this to this person that way,
Mm-hmm.
that was toxic, or I should have I shouldn't have cared or got mad at my friends when they were out without me. That's toxic. Toxicity is something that's in every type of relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas we're just starting to like understand toxic relationships, and we like seem to go towards intimate relationships when we're thinking of toxicity, but
it can be in any
relationships. And I think the hardest relationships to see toxicity in are those with your parents and those with your closest friends, because you're like, well, these people love me and they've gotten me through everything, but they're actually toxic in a lot of ways that I've just like believed that they weren't.
Yeah, I guess with like family type of toxicity, it's like you're born into it, so you don't really notice until like you get older and you're like, okay, I'm going to my friend's house and like this is where their parents differ from mine, or you even see stuff on TV that like, oh, that's supposed to be the norm, and when I come home that's so not what I get. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
That's like, something I've been doing so much lately. Comparing. Actually, yeah, especially like with my like family life. Like I'm watching a bunch of new shows on Netflix, and like these families are so united, and like no matter what happens, they like their parents stick together, and like the parents are always like trying to keep their shit out of their children's lives, and like that made me see, like you were just saying, like how toxic my family life is. It's like, wow.
It's hard to make comparisons though too, because I guess when you're watching TV, it's obviously over dramatized, or like it's a over exaggeration. It's fakes. But then it's, you know, to the point where like you're like, okay, maybe it's not like too fake. Like this is something, they have to base it off something. So it has to be, you know, like people do have good relationships with their families, and like they are very united. I guess it's not all like sunshine and rainbows like some shows will make it seem, but it should be like a little bit like that.
Like when there's like kids talking to their parents on the show and they like just did something crazy and they like backlash at their parents and have some good shit to say, and their parents are like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear you.
Oh, I don't get that.
Or like,
from my...
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I would just be like getting yelled right back at, you know? Like,
I know.
That's where it's hard to like separate yourself and with your parents, because you maybe live with them, but maybe even not. And regardless of what happens, they're still your parents.
Yeah.
So how do you like escape that toxicity? Like, really, you never can. But I guess you can just remove yourself.
I guess you just have to remove yourself, and I think a lot of it is like establishing boundaries, like we said before. Like you kind of just have to be like, you know, you have to take it at face value. Like, this is how my parent is, this is how my friend is, this is how my boyfriend is. If they aren't willing to make the changes, because a lot of it is open communication, and if they're not open to the communication, you have to set that boundary and say, like, if you're not going to work with me and you're not going to help me, like, you know, meet this boundary, then I'm going to remove myself and find comfort in, like, you know, being somewhere else. Like, let's say, you know, with a parent, you don't mesh well living together. You're like, I respect you, like, you know, I really wanted to work on this, but maybe we need to live separately. Like, we can't work, we can't mesh well together. It's creating the boundaries. It's all about, like, and the hardest thing with that is, you know, you want to create these boundaries and you want to have those, like, work for you and with that person, but at the same time, like we said, communication, if they're not open to it, that's when you kind of have to, like, remove yourself. And
and it's even hard to set boundaries, you know, sometimes.
Especially with, like, a parent, because it's like they think I rule everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, you're the kid, I'm the parent.
Yeah.
I pay the bills, or I brought you up, I used to change your diapers.
Yeah,
it's like all this, like, these, like, defense mechanisms for them to realize, like, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong here.
I guess the only good takeaway I see from that is, like, when we get older and we have kids, I know exactly how I feel as a kid and how I want to make my children as comfortable as possible. And, like, I want to be open with them. I want to be, like, you know, respecting their boundaries. Like, I want to sit down with my children when I get older. I guess this is, like, thinking so far ahead. But just, like, sitting down with my kids and being like, I was once in your shoes, even though it doesn't seem like I'm like, I understand you, because, you know, we all go through that phase where, like, our parents don't understand us, like, the stereotypical thing. I guess what I want to do is, like, sit down with my kid and be like, this is how we'll make this work. Yeah. We have to communicate with each other. We have to set boundaries. Like, we need to make sure that we're both comfortably, you know, living together.
Right.
Because you don't want that toxicity to, like, form. I think that forms from when you didn't create those boundaries, and then it's like you're butting heads all the time.
So when it comes to setting boundaries, I think it's the most important to set boundaries as early on as you can. For example, when I just got into my relationship that I've been in for 4 years now, he was under the impression that he could tell me what to wear. And I was like, oh, no, that's not going to work.
And how awesome did that turn out for you? Because now, like...
Now he can't...
He knows.
He knows. No matter what I do, and it's a good and a bad thing, because it still causes stress, but regardless of the end of the day, like, he always says, Dan, no matter what I say, you're going to do what you want anyways. Yeah. And he's, like, accepted that. Mm-hmm. And there's things, of course, that we have debates on, and it's like, can one of us do this? Is that okay? Yeah. Like, you know...
But that's where we have our differences. In your communication.
Exactly. So basically the main 3 things in any relationship is setting boundaries, having good communication skills, and the third thing that we haven't touched on yet, but we will, is the balance between your relationship, like
being serious and being fun.
Having like a good, you know, this is my friend and I genuinely want to be with this person. I'm not just with this person because I have been with them for this long. Just keeping that, like, I love hanging out with you and I want to hang out with you type of energy.
Like, keeping it fresh and fun.
Yeah, and even in friendships, like, you know, same thing. Even in family, same thing. Yeah. So
I guess, a lot of this all applies to every type of relationship.
Yeah.
Like a friend, a family member, whatever.
Yeah.
But it is, like, really important. I think I saw it on TikTok. And this guy who's, like, a legit adult man, he was like...
Love an adult man.
He was like, I think the number one thing in relationships that a lot of people, like, forget is how you're supposed to be in a relationship. Exactly. Like, it's not just supposed to be your friend.
And it's not just supposed to be, oh, we're in a healthy relationship. We have been together for, like, all this time.
Like, time doesn't really matter.
Time doesn't matter. Whether your first few months of your relationship are all bullshit. It's literally just seeing in one another what you want to see and forgetting that...
It's the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, it's like, you know, and people say they love the honeymoon phase random thing for me, but...
Did you not?
It was obviously great, whatever, but
it's like when you're all obsessed with
being in the relationship for 4 years, I have way more love and respect for Chris than I did in those first 2 months, obviously. But I even have more fun with him, like, and it's just, like, more of a balance now. It's not so, like, fake and, like, new. It's like, this is my life. And, so I'm choosing to be with you.
Yes. And I guess, like, that's where I can really relate because obviously not being in a relationship, I, like, talk to different guys and whatever. And it's a lot of, like, not being fake, but it's definitely, like, putting out your best self and, like, trying to be the most interesting that you can possibly be because you're like, I'm trying to rope this guy in. Like, I want him to see the best parts of me, but then, you know, you don't really talk about, like, the darker parts or, like...
Because when you think about it, and this is something... Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But I always think there's... The person that's thinking the thoughts about you, that's their brain. But when you see somebody new, it's not like you're sitting there nitpicking every little thing about them or every little thing that they do. You're more just, like, enjoying the whole moment and, like... You know, if they didn't like it, they wouldn't be talking to you. So they clearly have something to like about you. Yeah. And, you know, I forget where it was.
Well, that's where I feel like I put out my best self. Because I'm like, well, they're not nitpicking, but, like, they're getting a feel for who I am. Yeah. And I kind of want to put my best self out there.
Like, what do you feel when you see, like, a bad side of one of them? Like, does it really turn you off? Or is it more just so, like...
Well, this is, like, a conversation that, like, I feel like... I am too hard on, like, people. Not too hard on them. And I don't think I'm also, like, too picky. But I have been...
You just set your boundaries.
I set my boundaries, I guess. And, like, I guess I could come off as, like, picky because I haven't been in a relationship in so long, and I have been, like, presented with fucking opportunity to, like, be with a guy. But I don't know. I just guess with everything I've been through, like, I've seen warning signs, and, like, I'll run from the warning signs before I even give them a chance to, like, prove that that's not how they are. Or, like, I don't know, I just kind of, like, read people right off the bat, and that's something where, like, I could be wrong. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, like, read people so fast, like, read too much into it. But, like, I do put my best self out there first. But it's not like I'm trying to be someone, like, different. It's just you appeal to your audience pretty much.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you want to do things that you find, like, they find interesting.
Well, that's another important thing, and that's something we, like, I was gonna say, is authenticity.
Yeah, you have to be your authentic self.
Yeah, and if you're not your authentic self to start with, then...
Were you with Chris? Or did you kind of try to appeal to his, like... Because we knew... Okay, so Danielle's boyfriend... Like, I won't go too much into him or, like, bring him up because, like, whatever. But he was, like, in a friend group that I guess... They were like... Our friends considered, like,
gang,
the bad boys.
Like, the bad boys, like, you know...
And we saw that as, like, maybe a little intimidating, I would say.
But us, like, me and you and a few of our other, like, little white girl friends, like, we loved these boys. Like, these Spanish boys, like... You know, we loved that. We were like, who are these Vichy white boys? Like, we like them. And, and that's kind of, like, how we saw them for so long. And, like...
But then when you, like, okay, so you met Chris and, like, we were friends with him for a while, but then you, like, drifted and then you found each other again, like, later on.
Yeah.
Were you, like... your authentic self when you first started talking to him, or do you think you, like, put up a little front?
No, I think he really just he would, like, make me nervous.
Really?
And, like, I would be even more like my little white girl self with him. Like, I think I'm more authentic now because I'm not afraid to, like, say what I say to him. Like, if anything, it's roles reversed. Like, in the beginning, I was like, oh, like, like... Yeah, I'll get you a coffee and bring it to you for no reason at all. Like, and yeah, you can, like, say whatever you want, like, whatever. I was just, like, more intimidated, and now I'm more authentic because that's not who I am at all. I'm like,
so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, since I'm not in a relationship, like, every time I talk to a guy, I guess I'm adapting to, like, who they are a little bit. I think it goes probably both ways. Like, guys want to talk about things that they think, like, will make a girl, like, interested and, like, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like feeling out in the beginning who they are and who you are and, like, how you'll mesh the best way.
And that's the best way to think about a relationship, too, because I actually was watching a TikTok, and it was of Will Smith, and it was talking about how when you're in a relationship with somebody, you're two separate souls who choose to walk together on, like, your journey of life. And if you don't love that person for everything that they are, if there's even one little thing that, like, not maybe one little thing, but if there's one thing, especially in the beginning, that you're getting this, like, sensation or urge and, like, you're not liking it, then I think listen to that. I don't think it's, like, you overthinking. I think it's your intuition. Yeah. And, like, that's your trial and error. Like, maybe you did lose a good one by being a little too picky, but at the same time, I would rather you be picky as fuck than you be like, oh, maybe I'll, like, let it slide.
That's what I did, like, in a relationship before. Like, I felt that I wanted to make it work so bad because I was like, oh, this, like, I just want to be in a relationship. Yeah. But then me forcing myself to make something work, even because I'm overlooking things that I don't like. Yeah. I ended up in something that I'm like, oh, this isn't for me. But it was, like, when I was 14. Like, I'm talking about something that was so long ago. But I'm just thinking
I think those relationships matter more than we think.
They shape you, yeah. I guess, like, it's your
like, intro. When we say, oh, we dated them in, like, 7th grade or 8th grade.
Honestly, like, for us, like, why were we so serious at
we were literally, like...
You know what I was thinking of today? Maybe it was yesterday. Because I have, like, little baby cousins. Yeah. And my cousin's, like, 8. And she's talking to me, and she's like, oh, I have this boy that I like in my class. And she's in 3rd grade. I had my first boyfriend when I was in 3rd grade. And thinking back, being 8 years old, like, why did I have a boyfriend, first of all?
I know.
And second of all, why were my boyfriends so serious when I was younger?
Can I say something? Because I literally remember, because I literally was obsessed with Gina's cousin my whole life until I was, like, actually older.
Yeah.
And, like, when I was, like, a little girl, I was so obsessed with him. So he's a couple years older than me, and I told him, like, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm, like, 11.
Were
and
you,
he
like,
was, like, 13. I was 10.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, I'm 11. So it was, like, only 2 years.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, we can date. I'm like, whoa. And then his
like,
mom,
whoa.
his mom and your Auntie Lisa took us on, like, went to one of Seth's, like, baseball practices or something.
I think I was there. Was that
And
in the Pines?
Yes.
I was
yeah,
there.
you were there. You were with
I was
us.
there.
And remember, we were in the car, and Auntie Lisa, we were talking about, like, having a boyfriend and stuff. And Auntie Lisa was like, I don't know why you kids get into relationships so young. We're literally 10 years old.
Yeah, why?
And we're literally talking like we're marrying these people.
Oh, for sure.
And that conversation stuck with me forever because I was like, yeah, why are like
so
now
young.
looking back, I'm like, we were so young and we literally were obsessed with like dating.
Okay, so I had my first boyfriend in 3rd grade, and then when I was in 4th grade, that's when I had my like first kiss and like all that stuff. And then 5th grade was when I had a boyfriend who literally used to like come to my house and like but we wouldn't go inside. My mom would be like, you guys can sit outside, and we would sit on the little like side of my house.
Yeah.
He would walk from school because so I dated him from 5th grade all the way into 6th grade, and we went to different schools. So he would literally walk to my house after school, and we would hang out outside of my house. How funny is that? But it's just crazy because I'm thinking back, like the last time I was in a relationship was when I was a freshman in high school. So it's literally been like, I had a boyfriend 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, and then since then I haven't. So that's like the
know what's
only
interesting that I'm thinking
experience.
of it? When you're in a relationship with somebody, you go through phases like of who you are.
Yeah.
And that can really break a couple, and like when I look at you, I think there's a reason you haven't been in a relationship, and it's because you're a completely different person than you were in high school. Even than you were, like, when I was looking back at you when you went to Coastal, I was like, who is that?
Who's that girl?
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Completely different person.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
like, who the fuck is that?
Who's that girl?
And I don't know if it's, I mean, we've known each other since I was, like, 9.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's just because I've, like, seen you like that, but I'm also, like, I never seen you as different. Like, you were always Gina, and now you're, like, a different Gina to me.
Yeah.
And if you were in a relationship, I don't even know how that would have withstood, because I'm telling you, it's so hard. I've seen so many different phases of Chris, and I'm sure vice versa.
Yeah.
But I loved them all. I got lucky. But I've
Yeah.
seen so many couples completely change as couples. Like, all the couples when we were, like, freshman or sophomore, there was, like, 3 couples who'd been together for, like, 4 years.
Yeah.
They're all broken up now.
Yeah.
Or 3 years or whatever. It's because people grow and change, and especially during this time in your life, like...
So something that Auntie Lisa said to me, speaking of Auntie Lisa, shout out.
Queen.
She was like talking to me, and I was saying how my brothers have relationships, and that's like something that helps them get through these hard times. Like, they have that person to lean on.
Yeah.
But they had these people before, this shit happened. And she was kind of saying I was saying, I'm so like envious of my brothers because they have that person to lean on. And like, I want that because I'm going through a hard time and I feel like I'm doing it all alone. And she was saying the benefit of that is that I'm going to be such a strong person because I was able to get through that by myself.
And when I get into a
relationship, I know I don't need this person for anything that I'm going through. Like, I won't, rely on someone to help me get through something because I was able to get through the hardest part of my life alone. You know what I'm saying?
That's literally the best thing I've ever heard.
Right?
That's perfect.
Yeah, like, it's like...
That's literally...
Because I always say to you guys, like, a relationship should be... Like, an intimate relationship with a partner should be an added bonus to your life. It should never be...
Even a friendship.
Like, you should be able to do things on your own and be by yourself and be content. If you need a person to rely on to, like, get through life, then what happens if you don't have them?
Yeah.
Then your whole world crumbles.
Yeah.
So I think that a relationship or a friendship should be an added bonus to your life, but you should always be able to do it by yourself to begin with. So, like, friends that we've had, like, you know, being in toxic relationships, like I say, you need to cut that now and work on you and find your inner happiness, because right now you're saying, like, what am I going to do without him?
Yeah.
You're not going to have him forever if you can see it's already toxic. So you have to be able to cut that, work on yourself, find that inner happiness, and then find someone to match you. But you don't want them to complete you, you know? You should have that full heart first, and then they just come in and add a little bit of extra.
Yeah.
So I say that, like, you know, it sucks. Like, I have craved a relationship so bad. I see all my cousins. I'm just, like, from a big family, so all my cousins have girlfriends, and Maddie just got a boyfriend, and I'm like, oh, I want that. Like, I want that person to complete me. But I feel like I need to complete myself first, work through these things, and then find that person. And then I'll never be able to say, like, or they'll never be able to say, oh, I helped you through that. What are you going to do without me? I can say, I don't need you for anything. And not that I want to be like a stone cold bitch, but it's more just like, you know, I'm confident in myself. I'm independent. Like, I can get through whatever I need to get through by myself.
Yeah.
And then if I have that person, then, like, that's good.
Yeah.
But if not, I'll be fine.
And that's, like, a blessing, because a lot of people start relationships and they are codependent.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have good communication, then that codependency just gets taken advantage of.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And from my personal experience, I have, like, my partner who relies on me a lot for a lot of different things, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But we set limits. It's like, no, you have to do this for yourself. Like, I can't keep doing this for you.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do it. Or you need to feel better by yourself, because that takes, like, a lot of growth. And
like, you should have each other to lean on, but you have those boundaries set where it's like,
yeah, not all
this is for you.
relationships start with that
Yeah.
either. It's like, that's why communication is so important, because things change. You see new things in your partner for all time. Like, you never fully know another person. You barely even know yourself, and you've been in this body your whole life.
I think that's why it's a little bit of a blessing for me, because I think when I was younger, I would have been the type of girl in a relationship who was like, my boyfriend is everything to me. I will form to them rather than form myself, you know? Like, I would have been the type of girl to be like, my boyfriend is, like, my best friend, and he means everything to me, and, like, is this word correct? Like, malleable? Like, you're shaped by, like, easily? I don't know what the right word is.
I feel like that sounds smart.
Well, whatever. Anyways, I felt like I would have been the type to just, like, not be able to form my own opinions and, like, stand my ground. I would have just totally been like, okay, my boyfriend is my everything. But now I've been through so much that I'm like, I have my own beliefs, my own views. I'm very, like, open to conversations now. Like, I like to be open-minded. I like to communicate. Like, I've learned that all from being by myself and just, like, watching other people, or, like, even through our friendships, or, like, whatever. With age, like, that came to me. But I know if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't have been where I am and who I am today, you know? So I guess, like,
I think that's another thing for, like, relationships. It all depends on the person. If you're the type of person to fall into codependency easily, that's one thing.
I guess that's what I was kind of trying to say. Like, I would fall into codependency because that's just who I was. Like, I was, even with, like, friendships like me, you, and Julia, I feel like I was always the one to take the back seat and, like, let everyone make the decisions, and I'm kind of just like, oh, whatever, like, I'll go with whatever. I never stood my ground. I never said, I wasn't the one to, like, stand up and say something that, like, I felt. I would just be like, oh, everything's fine. Yeah, everyone can figure it out. Now, I'm still kind of like that, where I'll, like, take the back seat. But if I really don't want to do something, or I really don't like something, I'm totally open to, like, communicate that to
not
everyone.
being afraid to say no.
Yeah.
And, like, no, I feel this way instead.
Which I feel like I learned that from you. Because you were like, you just have to start saying no. Like, when you don't want to do things, you don't have to put yourself in that situation.
That's exactly how I do in my whole life. Like, that's something I never did before.
Yeah.
I always was like, and I actually realized this when I was talking with Ava one night. We were a couple bottles in, literally. And
bottles.
I was like, you know what? That's what it is. Like, I really just, I always say, who cares what they think of me? But I care so much about what other people think of me that I just, like, make them comfortable and, like, conform to them.
Yeah.
And, like, be like, oh, screw it if it makes me uncomfortable. Like, if it makes them feel better, that's fine. And I would get the bad, like, anxiety, like, I couldn't even form sentences. My anxiety would be so bad because I put myself in that situation. And then I started saying no. And I was like, no, like, either I don't feel like going out tonight or no, I don't want to have people over anymore, or can you guys leave? I'm tired. Like, you know, anything. Like, it's not afraid to, don't be afraid to say your opinion, because that's when you're losing your authenticity. You're just conforming to this person or this group of people, like, whether it's your family, like, if, oh, your whole family likes this politician, now you have to like them. No, fuck that. Like, I like this person because I like this person for my own reasons. It doesn't matter what you think. Or with your friends, like, conforming to the way they maybe dress or maybe the way they talk. Like, maybe your friends are, like, I don't know, they talk about somebody a lot, and, like, you don't have to sit there and conform to them and listen to them talk about that person if it doesn't make you comfortable. You know?
I totally, like, learned that through you.
Yeah, and then even in relationships, like, my partner will want to be like, oh, no, like, do you have to go do this? Or, like, I don't really want you to stay that late, or, like, whatever it may be. This is just hypothetical. I'm like, no, I want to. Like, you don't have to, like, tell me what to do. I'm my own decision maker. You don't make my decisions. That's why I feel people fall so vulnerable to their partner, because they're like, well, you know how to make my decisions for me, and you've been doing it for so long. So now it's like, fuck my feelings, fuck how I feel. I'm just gonna fucking go with whatever you want. And then you lose your authenticity with even yourself. It's like, who the fuck am I? What decisions do I want to make? You know, sometimes you put that whole issue on yourself and you don't even realize it. If you're in a toxic relationship, then fucking leave it. Be strong enough to pick yourself up and not fall victim. Don't play the victim card, because that's not going to get you anywhere. You know, you gotta realize a healthy relationship from a toxic relationship, and anything in between, you know? It's up to you. You're in control. Say no. Like, fuck you, no.
You are in control.
Like, there's a nice way to say no. Like, I guess even, for example, we were sitting, I was like, do you guys want to sit outside? Let's sit outside. I was so down to sit outside. And they're both just looking at me, and I'm like, do you guys not want to? And they're like, yeah, let's just go sit at the table. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. Like, even as something small like that. Like, it's just say no.
You have to say no, but it doesn't have to be, like, your way always is right. It's not like, oh, I'm going to say no to everything, or I'm going to say yes. Like, it's kind of just finding, like, that balance, like we're talking about. You have to have a balance with everything, and it's like, okay, I don't want to be the one who's always making all the decisions. Like, there's compromise in that. So you have to find that balance of, like, you know, I can communicate to my friends or my partner or whatever that this is how I feel, but I'm not gonna, like, expect that they're always gonna want to do it my way. Like, you have to meet in the middle and find out, like, you know, like we were saying, we don't want to sit outside. It's like two of us. And you're like, okay, like, we'll go inside. So it wasn't something that you wanted to do. You didn't want to go sit inside, but you made that, you know, compromise because, you know, your friends want to go sit inside, you know?
I think compromise and communication in, like, an intimate relationship, like, for me specifically, is so important, because there's two people with two different ideas, two different thoughts, two different feelings. You know, if you're just listening to one of those sides at all times, or even just sometimes, that's not okay. Like, compromising is different than you not getting anything out of what you're doing. Like, if you want to compromise, that means both sides need to equally figure out, how am I going to make each of these people feel better? Not, oh, you have to not wear those clothes because I don't like the way they look on you. No, maybe you can wear whatever you want, but maybe, like, just wear some nipple pasties. Maybe something like that.
Everyone's feelings, like, I think this is the best way we could put it. Everyone needs to be able to lay their side out on the table. Everyone's feelings need to be validated. Like, I see where you're coming from. Like, tell me how you feel. Let's like hear both sides. And then that's when you meet in the middle, you find that compromise. So it's not like I just totally invalidated you, like whatever you feel is not important to me.
And that can be hard too, because when you're sitting in that, you're like, well, I have my side and you have your side, and it can be completely opposite sides, right?
But you have to find
it's sometimes, maybe if it's like on a opinionated topic, you don't need to always meet in the middle and be like, I understand you and you're so smart. No, you can sometimes be like, well, still fuck you, but I respect what you're saying.
Exactly. I guess it's all a lot of like respect too.
Yeah, respect.
I respect where you're coming from. Okay, ready? So respect is super important.
R-E-S-P-C-T.
Why did I snort? Okay, so I think like respect is super important. Communication, you know, finding that like middle ground, compromise, and then like we said before, like just that balance of like keeping it fun but still like, you know, I respect you here, like I respect your opinion, I respect my opinion, let's meet in the middle, we want to make this work. You know what I'm saying?
Like, and even so, okay, let's one by one for relationships, keeping things fun, that goes for every relationship, right? But for intimate relationships, me and Chris go on date nights every single Saturday. No matter
even,
what.
I look at my, it was so funny, I was like at my family's like party yesterday, whatever, and I just see like my cousins who are married and have kids like still flirt with each other. Like they keep it fun and they like, you know, have that like physical touch, or like they're not too PDA or whatever, like, but they still are intimate with each other and like they make things fun and they go on like date nights. Like my cousins went on like I think a trip, or I forget what it was, but they like went somewhere with each other and it like they got babysitters for the kids. That's keeping it fun, even though they've been married, and it's more like, I guess when you become parents, it's more of like a job. And less of like, oh my god, so fun, like I'm in this relationship, but they keep it fun. And then I think even with like, if you're not parents, you're just like a young relationship like you guys, that's super important, because you and Chris have been together for 4 years now. It's like you live together forever. Like it can turn into like, oh, we're just best friends,
we're just like roommates.
We're roommates, exactly. And I think that happens with a lot of relationships. Like if you move in together, let's say at like a younger age, then you kind of grow apart, and then it's like, oh, I don't even align with this person anymore, and we don't have anything fun, we don't have anything in common, like we're just like friends now, we're roommates. But if you keep it like, you know, fun and intimate and all that stuff, it won't get boring and repetitive. Because I would assume being in a relationship for that long, like things can get repetitive.
I think it's more so like you get so comfortable with the person that it's more just like you're living amongst one another sometimes. And like it's important to just keep things alive. Like I've never got bored of being with Chris. It's always been like, I'm excited. We've been living together for the whole time we've been dating. It's been 4 years, so almost. So it's like we try to like keep our sex active, like we try to like stay intimate in that, and like that's something that'll tell you like once you're not feeling it, be worried. Because I've been with him for 4 years, and no matter what, it's like literally like electric. The first time. It's like I would say that, but it's just like you connect to this person, and it's not just about the biology of it. It's like your like souls are like connecting, and you just feel this passion that doesn't make sense. And if you stop feeling that, it's normal to like lose it every once in a while, of course. Like maybe you're not as sexually active, like no, who cares? But like keeping that some type of passion alive is like so important. And then also like talking to each other like friends, so important. Like don't just be like, I think this needs to change in our relationship, and I think we need to think about our future like this. Like, no, how's your day? Like, how are you like, feeling
genuinely
today?
Care about each other's, like, personal
like, what'd you do last night? Or what did you do all day? Like, being curious about the, like, little things in each other. And then also, like, finding comfort in one another when you go to bed at night. Like, that's... I don't know, it's just, like, so many little things. Like, you just want
them to be, like, your friend, too. Like I said earlier, you don't want them to, like, end up being your friend, but that's something that's super important, like, that balance between, like, friends and, like, relationship. Like,
so I was saying, like, we had phases of it. Like, when we first started dating, he was all, like, he didn't talk to any of his friends, and that wasn't even on me. It was all on him. And then he just entered my friend group, like, full force, and everybody at first was a little off, but then accepted him.
Yeah.
Then he found his own friends again and, like, had his own groups, like, whether it was with school or he played basketball or whatever. And now we're at this healthy medium where it's, like, we go out with our friends sometimes, or we stay in, or he goes out with his friends, or I go out with my friends. Like, relationships don't just stay the same. And if they do, that's when you should be worried. You shouldn't be having the same boundaries and rules you started with.
Yeah.
There's new ones that need to be made.
It's all about, like, changing and, like, adapting over time.
Yeah, exactly. And, like,
switching things
working on the few friends you may have, like, finding who's really close to you and who truly makes your soul happy, and, like, who do you feel completely comfortable with, and work on those people for these healthy relationships. You're not going to be able to have a healthy relationship with 50 people all at a time. You know, even if you're healthy
your
as fuck.
circle gets so much smaller as you get older.
Oh, yeah, like, 100%.
And that's not a bad
changes,
thing.
And, like, it's not always a circle. Sometimes it's like a fucking constellation, and there's, like, 2 friends over there, 1 friend here, 16 friends there, 4, you know, like, you change because you go through life on your own.
Yeah.
It's not like you go through life with one person doing every single little thing. You make your own friends and your own connections, and then those change.
Yeah.
And, like, for us, we started as you were one of my first best friends.
Yeah, same.
That I can actually remember. 9 years old, and we went from being best friends to, like, here and there we would see each other to not talking, like, really at all.
Yeah.
And then to seeing each other just in the group settings, and then we find our way back to being, like, each other's best friends again.
And that's totally normal too. I feel like going through friendships.
I've done that with so many friends. Like,
they
friends
like
I
circle
didn't
back
connect with
to
at
you.
one point. I now find myself closest to.
Because it's like you're going through different phases of your life, and a lot of it is like different settings are obviously gonna like take you away from people. Like, oh, we were in a different middle school, so like obviously that was the reason we
That's
weren't
when a lot
together.
of people separate.
Yeah, like middle school or high school or
when you go to
whatever.
college.
College is like really the like kicker. That's the one that like separates a lot of people. But I think with COVID and all of that stuff, so many of our friends have been home, so it's like, you know, that's not really a big factor in, like, removing each other. But, I just think, you know, having that small group, like, I feel like we kind of found that right now.
Mm-hmm.
That small group where I feel like you guys genuinely care what I'm going through. And it's not just surface level conversations. It's not just, like, I hang with you to, like, party and have fun.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what it was for so long.
In
like,
high school.
In the groups that we were in.
Yeah.
Even till, like...
Into college,
too, I would say.
I forget sometimes that I'm a senior in college.
Yeah.
Like, we went through
I'm like, high school was 4 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. We partied with these people all the way up until, like, last year. So.
Yeah, and it's just like we were like, oh, it's nothing else. We have nothing else to do, or like whatever. But it was so fake, and we would leave, and every time we would leave, we would have something to say.
We'd be like, these people are
why
so
do we fucking hang out with these
annoying.
people if we just leave and fucking talk about them the whole time? Like, we're idiots for even being in that. It's like when you see your friend in a toxic relationship, it's like you're complaining and crying and you're sad but you won't remove yourself. You're angry, but you won't remove yourself. You need to remove yourself.
We went through that with our friends.
So many friends.
But I think it's
even
like,
me at one point, I was in a wicked toxic relationship. All my family hated everything.
Yeah.
All my friends, everything. And I was like, no. I'm staying. Until I realized, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Let's go. We gotta get out of here. Abort mission. Like, this is gonna hurt me if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're in control. If you're looking for other people for your answers to your problems, you're literally not gonna find it.
Yeah.
So stop looking. Look within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out. Set your boundaries. Change your boundaries. Communicate. Like, it's keeping it fun. It's all these little things.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into, like, all different relationships. Like, I know we touched on a bunch of them, but it's, like, kind of taking all of those, like, throwing them in this mixing pot, stirring it up and see what works, you know? Like, you want to do that for all aspects of your relationships.
Yeah, don't ever... Once you're...
Don't settle.
When you're comfortable where you're at, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You should never... Even my coach used to say this in sports. When you're too comfortable with your position, that's when you start fucking up.
Yeah.
When you're too confident, you start fucking it up, you know?
I guess, like, something I wanted to say, too, is just, like, to be an umbrella over this whole thing that we've talked about. I found that going through all of these things in my life, like, something that's brought me the best results is just being open-minded. Like, I was brought up different than everyone. Like, everyone's brought up different than everyone. So you can get so stuck in how you were brought up and you think, yeah, that's the right way. Like, the way I was taught or the way I, like, developed my own, you know, like, ways of doing things. You think that's the only answer. But remember that everyone came from different families. Everyone has a different mind. Everyone has different views. And you're not always going to be right. They're not always going to be right. But the best thing you can possibly do is be like, this is how I feel, but I'm so open to hear how you feel. And just, like, being open to a conversation. Like, communication is key, but also, like, understanding. And also understanding. Like, I can communicate to you, and if you don't, you could be like, well, no. Like, I don't understand, or I don't care to understand. You need to be so open and be like, even if you don't understand, like, can you go into depth about that? Like, I value your, you know, point of view. Like, I want to see if I can figure out what you mean. So I guess, like, being open to, like, in friendships, in relationships, in family relationships, like, being open, honest, and, like, understanding. Like, you just want to try to be the most open you can be. Because once you close yourself off, like, what are you going to be the same way from 21 to, like, 60 years old? Like, I think that's something that, like, I always say about, like, my dad, let's say. Like, adults
I'm
get
an adult.
older.
I know what I'm doing.
And he'll be like, I'm 61 years old. Do you think I'm going to change how I think now?
Fixed mindset.
They have a super fixed mindset. I think that's the worst thing possible because
I can't open a restaurant now. I'm 50 and I have kids. I can't go back to school. I don't know what I'm doing. Self-sabotaging. Fixed mindset. The definition of intelligence is, like, learning and adapting to new things around you and being able to, like, deal with those things.
And this world is
That's
always
actually
changing.
what intelligence is, like, being able to adapt. So all you bitches who just want to stay the same, you ain't intelligent.
You ain't doing it right.
You ain't doing it right. Learn to adapt. Learn to change your mind. Like, if you're so stubborn with everything, like, oh, well, that's how I hear stubborn people. Shut the fuck up. Listen. Stop thinking of the next thing you're going to say when somebody's talking to you.
Is that not the worst?
Learn how to adapt. Like,
that's literally the worst when you're talking to someone and you're like, you're not even listening to me. You're just thinking of the next thing you're going to say.
I said that the other day.
Oh, yeah. You're like, you're always thinking of the next thing you're going to say.
I can see it in his eyes. It's like I say three words. My dad's
He's like, all right, I'm
my
ready.
dad's this. Oh my god, my dad.
The same way.
He'll say something, right? And he'll just say it to say it, and he doesn't care what anybody has to say, but it's like a conversation starter. And he'll just start, and then you'll say your side, and 3 words in, he'll be like, don't know what you're talking about. Like, you didn't even let me finish my sentence.
I know. How do you know what I know?
I say one sentence, and he replies to something I said, like, 3 sentences ago. I'm like,
because the whole time he was thinking about how he was going to answer that 3 sentences that you said.
Yeah.
So I just, like, I feel that way with my dad. That, like, that's the same thing. And I just see it. It's, like, so toxic for someone to close their mind at any age. Like, be open. Because that's something that, like, my family will say. They'll be like, oh, your aunt or your uncle or your fucking whatever. They're just old. Like, that's just how they are. Even with my grandmother.
I hate when people say that's just how they are.
Why is that okay that's just how they are?
It's not okay that's how they are. Like,
oh, that's just how she is. Oh, that's just how he is.
Rewarding the negative behavior.
What do I always say? If you continue to reward bad behavior, then you're just asking for them to continue. But if you show, like, a pushback for their bad behavior, then they're going to have to change, you know? So never...
Or they don't, and then you tell them to go fuck themselves.
And that's when you remove yourself because you have boundaries set. And that's not something that you're going to put up with.
No, literally. And that goes for also every relationship.
Yeah, I guess everything that we've said kind of, like, wraps into one. Because when we started, we were kind of like, you know, we have to talk about friendships, we have to talk about relationships, family, and, like, they each have their own things. But I guess it's just relationships in general.
Yeah, that's what I think I've realized.
Yeah, just everything, like, kind of goes off the same thing. I think the only thing that's different is with family. I guess we haven't really, like, covered this too much, is... A lot of people say, well, that's my blood, so, like, I can't really do much about it, but you can. Like, we said this in the beginning. We've been talking for so long, but, like, to remove yourself from a situation like that, like, not living with them or, like, whatever, just know that even though they are your family and they're your blood, if they don't respect you and they don't reciprocate respect, then you don't have to give it back. And
my sister is a great example of that. Like, she was living in the house with me, my mom, and Chris for so long, and her and my mom didn't have a good relationship, and against, like, all the odds, she packed up and she moved across the country, and, like, whether she's happy or not in her day-to-day life, which she is, that doesn't really matter. She removed herself from a tough situation, and that made her happier in itself, you know? She just has a more clear mind from just removing herself. And it goes for any family member, really. Like, you know, whether it be aunts and uncles or cousins. I barely talk to any of my aunts. Well, I don't talk to my aunt or uncle, really, on my mom's side.
Yeah.
A lot of my dad's siblings live in different states, and... You know, I don't have many cousins my age. There's been, like, own removal of relationships between me and my family. And, like, it's like, who cares if they're your family? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, for some people it's like you have this crazy bond. But for me, I never really had this crazy bond. I feel like I was always, like, oh, the youngest, the spoiled, the this. Like, why do you judge me, but I still have to call you auntie or uncle? Or
that's what I'm saying. If it's not reciprocated respect, then you don't have to just because they're your blood.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's where, like, I differ, though, because my family's so, like, united and connected, and everyone's involved in everyone's business.
Like,
and,
there's no one that has beef.
No, we're all just, like... I mean, my aunts, like, things like that happen, but they're sisters. Like, obviously, they're gonna, like, have those problems and whatever, or, like, things that have happened with my uncles and stuff. But, like, my cousins, like, we're all just so close, and, like we said earlier, like, even with relationships, like, you keep things fun. Like, that's how me and my cousins keep things. Like, they just texted in the group chat. We have a girls, because I'm, like, super close with all my cousins' wives and, like, my brother's girlfriend, so we're going out to dinner on Wednesday, like, a girls' night, because I know I came from a family of 1 billion guys, so we do, like, our girls thing, but then on Monday, so Wednesday I have a dinner with the girls, Monday we're all going out to a movie, so we, like, keep things fun, and, like, we're always with each other, and, like, I just love having a big family, but where I can see, like, other people coming from is, oh, I don't have a big family, I'm not close to a lot of people, and let's say in your case, like, you don't feel respect from them, so it's, like, you have friends to help you and, like, fulfill that, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
why
you don't
my friends
need
are
your
so
family.
important.
Yeah.
Like, and Chris is like, why do you care so much all of a sudden? Like, because I had such a hard time, like, really finding good friends in general. It really didn't until recently. And, you know, it was like, he was like, oh, all of a sudden, like, you're so close to your friends. I'm like, well, they're, like, my family.
Yeah.
Like, that's who I consider my family. Like, you guys are the ones who've been with me throughout my whole life, and you guys are the ones who, like, love me through it all.
Yeah.
Not the ones who I see on Christmas, and I freaking...
Don't even want to spend time.
Don't even... I have to do small talk that I don't even want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, of course not my whole family is like that. I have some good people in my family, too, but, like...
The people that aren't, you don't have to...
It's like, oh, fuck, I gotta go to this place, I gotta do this.
That's how I feel about my grandparents.
Yeah,
and oh, brother.
And I'm just, like, getting old enough to actually, like, drink on family occasions, so my sober ass is like,
yeah, I don't want to be here right now.
Now I'm like, give me the booze.
It's give me the booze, bring it in.
I'll meet you in the other. I'll see you at dessert.
But I was just thinking, like, how you said, you know, Chris was like, oh, why are you so close to, like, your friends? Like, why do you care so much? That's where I differed. We were talking about this, like, the first time we filmed the podcast, but I think, like, a lot of it got cut out. But we were saying how we're, like, two people with, like, similar experiences but different perspectives on it. And I think my perspective of all of that is, like, I was the total opposite. Like, I wouldn't show vulnerability and, like, talk to you guys too much about what was upsetting me because... I was like, oh, my family's for that. Like, I don't put that on my friends. But that's something you do. That's what friends are for.
You still kind of are like that.
Yeah, I can be that way because I don't like to show vulnerability. That's just how I feel because this is totally the wrong perspective on it. But I'm always like, oh, if I'm, like, vulnerable, like, I don't know. I just don't like feeling that way. A lot of people don't like feeling vulnerable. And I think a lot of the times I'm like, oh, my family can see me at my worst. Like, I don't want to put that out to my friends. And I think a lot of it comes from also, like, my situation is just not as common.
Yeah,
so it's like I'm like, oh,
so you find the most comfort within your family.
And even like talking to my friends, I'm like, they won't be able to relate. Like, I don't want to put this on them because what can you guys tell me that I don't already know myself? Because you never been through it. Yeah,
that's Gina. Everything you tell her, I know. I know. And she's not even just saying I know to be a bitch. She
I genuinely
She just
know.
knows. She's like, yeah, I know. I always say that. And I'm like, well, I got nothing. So
yeah, so that's why I think I go to my like family first.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they're older and like
they're wiser.
They're like, I guess, wiser in that area, like dealing with that kind of stuff. But I think when I get older, like that vulnerability.
There's things you go to your family for, and there's things you go to your friends for.
But I think when I get older, I'll start going to you guys for that stuff more because, like, you know, my aunts and uncles are all getting older, and they have their own, like, they have grandkids, and they have all this shit, like, to deal with.
Even when you have a partner.
Yeah.
That's who you're probably going to go to.
Yeah, exactly. And not having my mom now, like, I can't, like, go tell her stuff.
You just need somebody that's yours. And it's like, no matter what, you will not say anything and you will not judge me. And
that's something that, like, sorry to circle back. We just keep circling back.
Circle it up.
Everything, like, connects. I guess when I was talking about relationships earlier, I totally stand in what I said about, like, feeling good that I haven't been in a relationship because I've built, like, who I am by myself. But I think going through all of this, I'm like, I want that person to be able to like sit with and talk and know that they have my best interest at heart above all else. You know, like when you have that partner, you're like, it's me and you in this, like nobody else matters, you know. Like it's not that nobody else matters, but it's us two together above all.
Yes.
And that's something that I'm missing, where like that came from my mom. I was like, oh, my mom's like my, you know, she always has my best interest at heart, and not having that now, and I don't have that from my dad. I guess I just like look for that in a partner. So that's something I'm excited for. Like I'm not going to depend on it, but that's something that I'm like, because a lot of it right now is in my own head. I like work with myself to get through things. But when I can, like, bounce it off someone, I'm going to feel so much better.
Yeah, because keeping everything in, regardless of, like, even if you're having those tough conversations, like, hearing other people's opinions that may be different from yours will give you a new mindset. And be like, oh, well, I never thought of it that way.
And that's super important. Like,
that's so true.
I value you guys, like, what you say and all that stuff. Even if, like I just said, like, sometimes you don't have the answers because you haven't been through it. I still value what you have to say about it from, like, what you can pull out, you know?
Right.
And that's, like, something that I'm gonna get from a relationship. Like, someone who's, like, most likely, hopefully, hasn't gone through what I have, because I just feel like two damaged people together probably won't be the best thing. But someone who, like, maybe comes from a little bit easier of a life can, like, give me some perspective on that.
For you, I think you were saying, like, oh, am I too picky? Am I too this? Am I too that? And, like, no, I don't think you're picky, but you're, like, specific. That's the same thing. I think you're not going to find your perfect person in anybody. I think that you find somebody that makes your, like, body and soul happy, and you take that person and you either learn and, like, work with one another, or you don't work out.
Yeah.
And, like, shit goes bad. But that's, like, when you learn.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, you're ever going to get into a relationship and be like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like I said, nothing's going to stay exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think it's more just, like, figuring out what you want. Because you might think you want something, and then you're like, when you're in it, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, like you said, be picky, but also be open-minded.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
like, I'm, like, just specific about, like, what I want, but I'm also open to be like, all right, if that's something that I don't necessarily like, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, because think of it, like, oh, how do you want it? Like, when you think, oh, what do I want to be like as a person? You're not going to hit every nail on the head. Like, you're not going to be exactly... Like, yeah, I want to be fucking skinny and have a fat ass and have huge titties and, like, fucking be perfect body.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but, you know, that's not... Like, I'm not making anything happen for that.
Yeah.
For one.
Something that's, like, lighthearted, like, right before we end this off is, you know, like, how people say, like, oh, I got the ick.
Yeah.
That's me. That's my problem. Oh, my God. I'll be like...
You're turned off easily.
So easily.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, like, a universal thing. Like, a lot of people
No. I used to be, and that's so funny, because I remember, like, all my, like... past relationships other than like maybe one. I broke up with them
over like a...
And I was like, ugh, this person's like annoying me. And it's something I never...
So small.
I never got like that ick in Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I was never like, ugh,
yeah.
what are you doing? What are you saying?
Yeah.
Like everything he does, I'm like, no matter what, you're still cute.
Yeah. No,
that's what I was talking
that's my
to like key thing too, because I'm like, no, I hope I never get that,
because that turn off is so strong. Once they turn me off, I'm like, okay, next, bye.
But that means that you're not passionate, you're not that connected to them. If
yeah.
something that small can turn you off, you're not that passionate about it.
Exactly. So I was like talking to a guy, and he did something that was so minuscule. I don't even want to say it because like,
don't say it.
It's just whatever. But he did something. And automatically I was like, all right, next, bye, peace.
Yeah.
But, like, you're right. If, like, icks really get to you, that means that you weren't, like, really connected in the first place. Like, if something that small can make you overthink, like, oh, I don't even want to be with this person anymore, then it wasn't meant to be in the first place. But, with that being said.
How do you like our clapping?
Thank you. I feel like we got such a good conversation in. And just, like, really went through all of the topics and gave our heart and soul. Like, this is exactly how I feel, and I'm giving everyone the advice. Like, everything I can give, I put out
what
on
I
the
find
table.
the most interesting, because this was our first, like, real successful podcast episode so far. And I'm, like, it's funny, because we're learning, like, as we're talking
I know.
it.
Sometimes you say something, and I'm like, damn, bitch, you smart as fuck.
Literally, I say the same thing about you. I'm like, okay,
all right.
Hey, we actually sound like we know what we're talking about right now, like the two of us.
know.
So it's fun and like
we're learning so much.
We're doing, we are.
Yeah.
And we hope you guys are too. And
honestly.
we hope you're taking something
from this.
Yeah.
If I said one thing or she said one thing that like really resonated with you, leave that shit in the comments.
Thank you guys so much for listening today. We hope you enjoyed. If you did like it, then leave us a little like, comment, subscribe, add this podcast to your playlist, add us on social media too, for the at the Oh Brother podcast. And then my Instagram handle is Danielle with 2 E's, 2_23.
And then my Instagram is Gina_Virella.
So get to know us a little bit on there, and we hope you like this week's episode of Oh Brother.
I'm kind of sad we didn't say Oh Brother once during this, or maybe I did.
We had to have.
Oh Brother.
Oh Brother, we didn't say Oh Brother.
Oh Brother. Well, here we go. You just said it 6 times in a row.
So if you didn't hear us, Oh Brother.
We'll see you next week. Okay, ready? So respect is super important.
R-E-S-P-C-T.